Hello, this is Right Side Trader. Today is May 29th, 2026, and this is my weekly market review. We're reviewing the NASDAQ 100, that's QQQ, on a quarterly chart, monthly chart, weekly chart, and a daily chart. This is all for educational purposes only, no trade recommendation, because as we all know, trading is risky. You can lose money at trading, so please check with your financial advisor. Please check with your significant other, and make sure trading is up to date and suitable for you. All right, let's step over to these charts and see what we see. What we see this week, all four indexes made all-time highs. They are in sync now. Make your money while you can. Us bulls got to be making that. We're making our money while we can. This market is going crazy, but it's all good. All good. You know, as long as you stay on that right side of the market and all. All right, let's jump into this quarterly chart and see what we see. All right, in this quarterly chart, what we see is green. We're above a yearly R1. We didn't quite break 750 yet on the Qs and all. So again, be looking for that next week. And all, again, I don't see anything slowing this thing down. I'm not one big on news, but based on what I see on the candle patterns and everything else, nothing is slowing this thing down from what it looks like. All right, let's go down to our monthly chart. On our monthly chart, we'll cross an R3 level. You very rarely see this. This is crazy, you know, what's going on at this time. But we take advantage of what we see, not what we think, not what we hear, you know, what we see. That's what we do. And what we see this market is still just running up. So let's just take advantage of what's going on right now while we can. Let's make our money while we can. You know, this is at R3 level, and you very seldom look at this. You very seldom seeing this thing going above that red line. And wow, and that's where it's at this time. But that's where we're at. So we're definitely in a strong bull market, and that's what we have. Let's go down to our weekly chart and see what we see there. On this weekly chart, what we see here is all-time highs. You know, like I said from the beginning, you know, we got a little bit of a gap here. So again, we've got to be careful about that. We might get a little bit of a pullback, and come next month, these are monthly pivots on this weekly chart. We might come back down and fill that gap. We might come back down here and test pivot and then continue up. And that'll be that little pullback that we would kind of be expecting. We got one just a couple of weeks ago. So and if it wants to fill that gap, it's going to have to do it next week, you know, and next week will be the beginning of the month. So maybe that's the time that it actually happened. And also, again, be careful about that. That may happen. But other than that, I do see this thing going higher, and that's all I can say. That's all I see here. Because right now we're on these monthly pivots, we only hit an R2 level. So that's still pretty hot, you know, for this index hitting the R2, that's that yellow line. As you can see, a lot of times, that's about where we usually go to is an R2 level, not quite to an R2 level, and when it's bullish and all. That's the whole thing. And when it's been bullish here, it did cross an R2, and then the pivots got wide, and that's why we just barely made it over an R2 level. No, but that's a pretty good target. And that's pretty much that on that weekly chart. Let's go ahead and go down to our daily chart and wrap this on up. On this daily noise, I just look at this. The thing is, this week was let me erase that mess there. This week, we gapped up and just kept going. We did a little bit of a pullback. Again, it didn't come back down here to fill in this gap stuff that was down here in this area. We gapped up, and we just kept going. We formed the doji here today, and again, come next week, we will be opening above pivot. So we might come back, pull back just a little bit and test that before taking off. But anything can happen. You know, last week we opened above pivot. It pulled back a little bit and ended up red. You know, so that's what I'm kind of like, you know, I can expect. Don't get too crazy about, you know, going long right away and swinging right away, because we do have something that looks like it could end up giving us an evening star if we end up getting a candle here and coming back into this area somewhere before it takes off. Or it might try to come down here and fill this. Anything can happen and that wouldn't be crazy as hot as this market has been. And this is 2 weeks and then pull back like we got here, but that went at least 2 weeks. Let's look at a little bit more here on this daily chart. That's what I need to do. Let me back up just a little bit. Nah, I don't see it. That's 1 week here. We kind of went up 1 week here, we kind of just went up. 1 week here, we had a little pullback within the week, and this was coming up to option expiration. We had a little pullback there, and we had a little bit pullback after option expiration, and just continued going up. And that's the whole thing right now. After option expiration to next option expiration, this thing is probably just going to keep going higher. And like you said, we got that 750 number as a target next week, and we'll probably be hitting that next week. So that's all I really see here. Again, I kind of expect us to open above pivot again, above pivot and stay above pivot, and just keep going higher. This may be just a rest here today on Friday and all, and then we're going to continue back on our merry way come Monday, just like we did before, Monday, Tuesday, and all. Monday. This is Monday right here. It was a holiday week. That's why we got 4 days here in the week. So it was a holiday week. So that's it. That's all I really have today. This is Right Side Trader. Hope you guys had a great week. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll speak to you next week. Have a good one. Bye.